Hello again, baby boomers and anyone who wants to connect with us. Welcome to AI Podcast Listening for Education on the Go. I'm Mike Hayes, founder of the SAFE Senior AI Foundation Explainers. So if you are tired of the online noise, the clickbait, the digital anxiety, you are in the right place. We are moving away from the attention economy and building the clarity economy. Now, in this episode, I'm doing something unique. I've fed my entire Influencer Explainer manifesto into Google's advanced AI and Notebook LM. What you are analyzing is my blueprint for how seniors and families can become trusted guides in the digital age. So this will break down how we use Google Gemini to vet the truth and how we use crystallized intelligence. That's your wisdom. And that's how we beat the algorithm. So put your phone down. It's time to listen to the best so you can ignore the rest. So let's dive in.
All right, this is the brief on the Influencer Explainer Manifesto. So this whole idea comes from Mike Hayes, who founded the Safe AI Foundation, and he's championing a really big pivot. Basically, forget trying to be a noisy influencer. The new goal is to become an influencer explainer, someone who prizes clarity over just chasing shallow attention. First up is this concept he calls the clarity economy. Hayes argues the old attention economy, with digital distractors just going for quick clicks, that's dead. The real strategic move now is to combine commanding attention, that's the influencer part, with commanding understanding, and that's the explainer. Because real influence, it's built on clear explanations and trust, not just noise. Second, there's what he calls the senior advantage. Now, young influencers might have all the energy, sure, but senior explainers bring wisdom, what some call crystallized intelligence. And that context, that experience, is absolutely essential when you're talking about life, business, or community. And finally, how do you actually do this? Well, Hayes lays out a specific AI toolkit focusing on the Google ecosystem. You use Google Gemini almost like a private tutor to really master complex topics. Then you feed all those notes into Notebook LM, and it helps you script out your public explanations. The things you post where people are actually searching for answers.
Exhausting.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, the world is full of questions. The only influence that really matters is being the person with the answers.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Today,
we are wading into the digital ecosystem,
and our mission
which,
here,
let's be honest,
is to really
often
get a
feels
on
less like
pivot.
a functional environment
The source
and more
material
like a raging torrent
attention.
of noise.
It really
It's
does.
just not the
And if
main
you feel
currency anymore.
overwhelmed by the sheer
Genuine
volume
trust.
of things demanding your
and
attention
understanding
online,
people are,
the
they're burned
scrolling,
out
the
on
shouting,
what
all
he
the
calls
distractions,
They're
then this deep dive
actively
is
looking for guides.
specifically
People
for you.
who can
We're trying to
command
move
understanding.
beyond
So the
just
goal then
coping
is
with
to
the noise.
become this
we're looking for a way to
explainer
actually cut through it.
Exactly.
We're
And it's
looking
not
for a
about giving up
definitive way
influence.
to
It's
cut
about
through it.
combining
Well, it's
two
more
things.
than just noise,
Commanding attention,
it's a
which is the
systemic
influencer
issue.
part,
We've spent the
and
last,
commanding understanding,
decade
the
or so
explainer.
perfecting
It pulls from that
systems
classic
designed to
Alvin
harvest
Toffler model.
attention.
Okay, but it can't be that
And
simple.
these
the
are
path
systems
to
that
becoming
reward
that
volume
kind of
and
guide
speed,
has to be
often at
messy.
the
Oh, it is.
expensive
The sources
veracity
lay
and
out three
context.
three
This
key
inevitably
paths.
generates
First,
overload,
you have the ugly path.
anxiety,
This is
and
the
just
classic vanity
confusion.
trap. Chasing
Our
likes,
sources today,
views,
specifically Mike
all with
Hayes'
no
The
real
Explainer
purpose.
Just
Manifesto,
numbers for the sake of
they're trying to
numbers.
pull us out of that
Exactly.
chaotic
Leads to zero
system.
depth and
they're
honestly
providing
quick
a
burnout.
genuine,
But wait a second, that ugly
roadmap
path.
for
I mean, it
moving
still
from
seems to
being
work
just
for some
another
people,
voice
at
in
least
the
in the
crowd
short term.
to
What's the real
achieving
long-term danger?
absolute
The danger
clarity and
is that it
trust.
actively fuels
let's
the
unpack
bad
this
path.
then.
Our central mission
Misinformation
today is to
Those agents
extract
confuse
everyone
Hayes'
and
strategy,
just
his
amplify
blueprint.
what Toffler
Really,
called future
for anyone
shock.
who
That
wants to be
overwhelming stress
impactful
from
online, but who
too much change too
fundamentally
fast.
rejects that
And the only way
exhausting
out
hustle
is what
for
the source
fleeting
calls the
attention.
good path.
The game everyone seems to be
Becoming one of
playing.
those trusted
The goal
guides,
here is
the Google
transformative.
influencers who actually solve problems.
How do you
So
transition
here's the
from
big
being
lesson then. Real
a
influence
standard
isn't about
influencer,
how loud you
chasing
scream.
likes,
It's
to
defined by
becoming
how
an
clearly
influencer
you can
explainer,
explain
focusing
something.
intensely
Clarity
on
over
building
vanity.
genuine
And
trust
that right there
and delivering
is where
clarity.
this whole model becomes
especially now,
incredibly
as
compelling
artificial
for
intelligence is
seniors.
just fundamentally
The senior
reshaping the entire
advantage.
information
Because youthful
landscape.
energy
And
has
that
dominated
transition,
the
it
attention
directly
economy, but
addresses
it
what
often
Hayes
lacks
calls
the
Context.
great
It
American
completely
pivot.
lacks
I mean, just
context.
look around
So
you.
that's
The
the
desire
strategic
to be
flip,
an
isn't it?
influencer
The
is the
explainer
modern
model is
aspiration.
built on
It's
what they
this
call
drive to be
crystallized
seen, to be heard,
intelligence.
It's wisdom.
and to be
Deep
valued by
knowledge.
the
It's not
digital
about
world. It's about
raw,
proving your
fluid
relevance.
energy.
It's a fundamentally
that
human
lifetime of
desire, though,
experience
isn't it?
that
I mean, who
provides
doesn't
the
want
context
influence?
everyone is so
But the
desperate.
trap
The thing
and the
that cuts through
manifesto
all the
outlines
noise.
this so
It's
clearly
the ultimate
is
antidote
that most
to that
people
future
chasing
shock
that
we were
title
talking about. They
And
end
for
up
seniors,
as what he calls
becoming an
distractors.
explainer
Unlocks
They're focused
success
entirely on the
in,
surface level,
well, three
chasing
key
15
areas.
seconds
In your
of
life,
shallow
it makes
fame,
you that
the next viral
interesting,
dance,
essential
that
person
ephemeral
who
post
actually gets
designed to
what's
just
going on.
capture
And
a
in
fleeting
business.
eye
In
movement.
business,
It is
trust
influence
is the new
technically.
currency.
It is,
Explainers
certainly, but it's
become
influence
indispensable
without any
advisors.
substance, without a
And in your
lasting
community,
anchor.
And that's
You stop being
precisely
part of
why
the
Hayes
noise,
proposes this.
and
well,
you become
it's a truly
pillar of
radical
guidance.
conceptual
Okay,
shift
so
to
if
counteract
context
that
and trust
shallowness,
are the
he says.
foundation,
Don't
how
just
do
command
you-
attention.
how
That's
do
the
you build
influencer's
that? How do you
primary and,
operationalize
frankly,
it?
this is where
Exhaustive
that
goal.
SAFE
Okay.
protocol
instead
comes in.
It's a
command
full system, really.
understanding.
SAFE
That is
is
the
the
core
strategy. It stands
identity,
for
the
Seniors
true
and Families
leverage
First.
point
That's
of
your
the
audience.
explainer.
Artificial
You
intelligence
move from
vetted.
demanding
Meaning you're
eyeballs
using
through
AI
citation
tools
to
to
delivering
rigorously
genuine,
fact-check
digestible
everything, to
knowledge or
avoid
making sense of things
misinformation.
for people.
Exactly. And who is
Then there's
guiding this
foundation of
paradigm
trust.
shift?
That's the
We
human
really need
element
to
of
meet the chief
credibility.
explainer
And finally,
himself. Mike Hayes,
explainers,
is the founder of the
not
Safe
distractors.
Senior AI
It's the
Foundation
whole
Explainers.
strategy.
And that
So how do
positioning
we
is
actually
so
create
crucial.
this content?
It is,
You don't
right.
need a
He's
huge production
actively
team, I
dedicated
take it.
himself.
No, you need the
as the
explainer
chief explainer for the
toolkit. And it's
senior
all
and
built
family
on the
community
Google
ecosystem. And that gives him
Step
a very
one is what they
focused,
call the
a very
private
high-stakes
study
lens
using Gemini
on
Right,
AI
as your private
and
tutor.
managing
But not just
digital
as a
noise.
tutor.
He's
You
working
use it
for
to
people
analyze
who are why
seeking
the top
protection and
influencers
utility,
communicate
not
the
just
way they do.
entertainment.
What
Yeah,
makes them
exactly.
so effective?
That
That's
focus
a
is
key distinction.
absolutely
Okay,
key
so then
because
step
his work
two is the
explicitly
public
rejects the
explanation.
established
Right. Once you've really
mechanics
got the
of
material
attention
down,
economy,
you feed your verified
which,
notes
as we know,
into
prioritizes
Notebook LM.
volume and speed
It's
over
a strategic
substance.
tool that helps you
He's
synthesize all
championing
that
something
complexity
entirely
into
different.
a really
more
clear
sustainable.
script.
Far
Maximum
more
clarity.
sustainable.
And then step
He calls
three
it
is
the
just
market for
smart
certainty
placement.
or the
You post
clarity
these
economy.
crystal clear
His entire
explanations on
organizational
YouTube,
structure, the
on
SAFE
Google search.
Foundation,
You
is
put
built
the
on a
answers
very
exactly where people
simple
are
yet
already looking for them.
powerful core
In a
mission
way,
for his
Mike
audience.
Hayes is sort of
And
the
now
ultimate
for you
meta
listening.
explainer, which is
To help
he's giving
you
us
listen
the
to the best so
roadmap
you can
to
ignore
build
the
what he
rest.
calls
It's
digital
all about
charisma
vetting the chaos so you
without
can focus
falling
only on
into that
validated,
vanity trap.
relevant insight.
So let's bring this
so
home for
if
everyone
Hayes is
listening.
proposing
The
this
sources are pretty
radical
clear.
alternative
The world is
to the
just
standard
full of
influencer
complicated
playbook,
questions that need answers.
what is the architecture of
And
this new role?
being the
I mean,
person
how do
who
you
provides
formally
those
structure
clear, reliable
explaining
answers?
so that it's
Well,
effective, trustworthy,
that makes you indispensable.
and
It really
crucially
does.
scalable.
So if using clarity
We have
and
to
your own
start by fully
experience makes you
defining
that
the explainer's
indispensable person,
strategic
Yeah.
identity.
the one who understands the
It
world,
requires combining two
then
pretty
the only
distinct
question
roles.
left is,
Okay.
So the
what
influencer
complex
component is
problem are you gonna use
necessary
these
because you
tools to
do have to
explain
command
next?
attention. You need the digital platform, the microphone, the reach for anyone to even hear you.
of course.
But the second role, the explainer, that's the one that commands understanding. And Hayes explicitly links this core need for comprehension and contextualization back to the classic framework of the Alvin Toffler model.
Toffler. Okay, so we're talking future shock, the psychological distress caused by too much change arriving too quickly. When that was written decades ago, focused on technological and societal acceleration.
Exactly. Toffler was dealing with the acceleration of change itself. Hayes is dealing with the acceleration of information about that change.
Ah, that's a key distinction.
Yeah, it is. If change causes shock, then the sheer volume of unvetted, conflicting information about that change, well, that causes paralysis.
Right.
The explainer's role is to merge attention with understanding, to mitigate that shock and provide true, sustainable intellectual impact. It's not just about visibility, it's about retention and application.
So to deliver that kind of retention and understanding, the explainer must adopt a specific functional identity beyond just being a teacher.
That identity is the vetted curator, and this role is absolutely critical in the age of generative AI. He describes his mission as acting as a watchtower, which I think is a great analogy for addressing information overload.
a watchtower, I like that.
The vetted curator's job is to analyze the entire AI landscape so the audience doesn't have to waste their time sifting through every new tool, every controversy, every ethical debate, every promising but flawed startup. They do the heavy lifting of evaluation.
But okay, let's go beyond the analogy. What are the actual mechanics of that curation? When Hayes vets the AI landscape, what specific criteria is he actually applying to distinguish, as he says, the best from the rest?
That's the fundamental question, isn't it? The manifesto indicates that the vetted curator is not just looking for, raw processing power. The criteria are directly linked to the audience's need for certainty and for safety.
Okay, so what's first?
First, they look at ease of use and accessibility. Is the tool simple enough for a non-technical senior to adopt without a steep learning curve? That's a huge barrier.
Absolutely.
Second, they scrutinize the safety and hallucination rates. For an explainer who's building a foundation of trust, relying on a system that's prone to fabricating facts is an immediate disqualifier. You just can't do it.
It would completely undermine the whole project.
Instantly. And third, and this is maybe the most important for his specific audience, they look at data grounding and privacy policies. Is the tool just guessing, or is it grounded in verified sources? And is it protecting the users, their intellectual peace of mind? The real insight isn't in the title of curator, it's in those specific trust-centered vetting criteria.
The deep vetting is what justifies the audience's trust. It means he's doing the due diligence on privacy and reliability that we, as individual users, we just don't have the time or the technical expertise to perform ourselves.
And that strategic vetting process, it leads us directly into the structure he uses to govern his organization, which he calls the SAFE protocol. This is the organizational pillar of the foundation. It details the human element and the desired output, and it ensures consistency and credibility.
Let's dedicate some serious time to breaking down these 4 pillars of the protocol. This feels like the operationally framework of the explainer in practice.
Right. So the first pillar is seniors and families first, the audience. And this is more than just a demographic choice. It's a commitment to focus.
How so?
It ensures the content is relevant, accessible, and explicitly addresses the concerns of that community, which are usually things like AI safety, digital literacy, financial protection, and practical application, not, theoretical computer science.
So by having a narrowly defined high-needs audience, the explainer's content immediately gains focus and utility.
Instantly. The second pillar is artificial intelligence vetted, the research. This is the execution of that vetted curator role we were just talking about. It's the promise that the information isn't just tossed out there. It's gone through a rigorous, transparent research process.
Which is so essential given the complexity and speed of AI development.
Absolutely. The third is where the true competitive advantage lies, and it's perhaps the most crucial for achieving long-term influence. Foundation of trust. The human element.
The human element.
Yes. This is what fundamentally distinguishes the explainer from a piece of generative AI. It's the ethical overlay, the personal credibility, the commitment to the audience's well-being.
So what does that look like in practice?
It means the explainer has to operate with transparency, admitting when they don't know something or providing clear disclosure about their sources and methods. The trust foundation is built on accountability, making sure the information is delivered not just accurately, but responsibly and with empathy for the listener's confusion.
So the human element isn't just a soft skill. It's a necessary component of the validation process that technology simply cannot replicate. You can't build a clarity economy, a market for certainty, without this bedrock of trust.
Precisely. And that brings us to the final pillar, the desired output. Explainers, not distractors. The entire SAFE process is engineered to create simple, actionable formats, often short, digestible listening-on-the-go capsules that fundamentally respect the audience's time and, crucially, protect their sense of composure.
The antithesis of the endless scroll.
Exactly. It's designed for consumption during a commute or while doing chores, demanding focus only when it's absolutely necessary.
This systematic approach, it naturally leads us to the tools themselves. If Hayes is the vetted curator monitoring the whole landscape, he must be choosing his instruments with extreme deliberation. He acknowledges the broader ChatGPT networking spectrum, which includes the major players like OpenAI, Claude, Perplexity, and Copilot. But his choices are specific.
They are very specific, and this is where we need to dive into the technical balance of the manifesto. Despite monitoring that entire spectrum, Hayes specifically spotlights Google Gemini and Notebook LM as his engines of choice. He has tethered his entire methodology to the Google ecosystem.
That raises a critical, challenging question, and one I'm sure our audience is asking right now. Why those two? If we're truly aiming to be a vetted curator and avoid the noise, shouldn't we be platform agnostic? Why prioritize the Google ecosystem over competitors like OpenAI or Claude, especially when some people see those as more technologically advanced or, more widely adopted in specific technical circles?
That is the critical friction point, and the reasoning provided is entirely pragmatic. It's aligned with the mission of clarity, safety, and operational simplicity. Hayes isn't looking for the fastest or the most cutting-edge AI.
He's looking for something else.
He's looking for the most reliable and safest path to communication.
So how does the utility of Gemini specifically meet this need for safety and reliability over, say, raw speed?
Well, Gemini's architecture, particularly within the Google ecosystem, offers some specific advantages for this explainer role. First, its integration with Google Search means its outputs are often better grounded in real-time, verified information than some of its competitors. And that's vital for building that foundation of trust.
Okay, better grounding.
Second, for the explainer working with complex source materials, Gemini's ability to synthesize massive amounts of data efficiently acts as a powerful private tutor. Hayes is choosing a system that prioritizes stability and clear sourcing, not experimental flair. He wants an engine that assists in research reliability.
And then there's Notebook LM. It's not a large language model itself, but a dedicated tool for organizing and structuring information. Why is Notebook LM the perfect companion for the explainer, especially when you're considering this need for trust?
Notebook LM's primary advantage is its source grounding capability. It's huge. When you feed it your research notes, your articles, or transcripts, the raw inputs you vetted with Gemini, it organizes them, summarizes them, drafts narratives. But every single piece of generated content is linked back directly to its original source within your notes. For the explainer, this is non-negotiable. It allows them to quickly fact-check and, more importantly, to demonstrate their work.
So that technical feature of linking text to source material becomes a core mechanism for building the foundation of trust. You can literally show the audience where the explanation came from, thereby making the explainer accountable.
Precisely. It is all about transforming complex AI chaos into simple, structured, listening-on-the-go capsules that respect the audience's time. The explainer moves past the experimental phase and straight into the practical application phase, ensuring the AI serves the explanation and not the other way around.
So if you connect this to the bigger picture, the explainer doesn't need to be a coding expert.
Not at all. They need to be an excellent researcher and a great communicator, and these tools are optimized specifically for maximizing that clarity of communication.
Okay, so to become an effective influencer explainer, you can't just operate in a vacuum. Hayes emphasizes that you have to first study the architecture of influence. You have to understand what makes the top creators tick, but focusing on those who teach, not just the ones who dance.
Yes.
And this knowledge, he says, prevents you from making foundational strategic mistakes.
Absolutely. Understanding of the landscape is crucial because it helps you identify the pitfalls you need to deliberately bypass. Hayes categorizes the entire influence space into 3 buckets: the ugly, the bad, and the good, which provides a necessary psychological and structural framework for our analysis.
Let's start with the ugly, the vanity metrics trap. And I think most people online are constantly battling this one, even if they aren't aiming for massive fame.
This is influence with zero depth. The core pursuit here is entirely self-referential. The quantifiable metric, the number of likes, the follower count, the quick view, it's a self-serving loop where the creator's purpose is just to increase the score displayed on the screen.
Not to genuinely inform or help the audience?
Not at all.
But what is the genuine harm here, beyond just being, annoying?
The harm is systemic and psychological. The outcome of chasing likes without a real purpose is entirely negative for both the creator and the consumer. It leads to profound mental health crises, creator burnout, and critically for their long-term viability, irrelevance.
Why irrelevance?
Because the content is engineered for maximum viral velocity. That means it's often too simple, too fast, and too shallow to ever serve a genuine lasting need. They sacrifice quality for clicks every single time.
It's the ultimate digital treadmill. You're running faster and faster, generating more content, but you're not actually going anywhere intellectually. The pursuit of metric-based attention completely undermines any genuine educational goals.
It has to.
I mean, if the content is simple enough to be instantly consumed and liked, it's probably too superficial to teach anything meaningful or lasting.
It raises a powerful question for anyone building a digital presence. When attention is the sole goal, substance is always the casualty. The platform rewards volume and quick sensation, not wisdom or complexity. The explainer, by prioritizing clarity and this market for certainty over quick clicks, naturally bypasses this devastating self-destructive trap. They choose a path of long-term relevance instead.
Okay, now, moving to the bad. The misinformation agents. These are arguably more destructive than the ugly because they don't just waste your time. They actively harm your ability to navigate the world.
These influencers are sophisticated. They use their platform not to clarify, but to confuse. They thrive on complexity, fear, and sensationalism, precisely because those emotions generate extreme engagement.
And their primary impact.
The primary impact is that they actively contribute to something devastating, which Hayes specifically links back to the explainer role, future shock.
We mentioned future shock briefly earlier. Let's really pause here and elaborate, because this is the psychological counterpoint to the explainer's promise of certainty. What is the real psychological toll this noise takes on the listener?
Well, think about the definition. Future shock is that sense of profound disorientation and personal malfunction caused by the premature arrival of the future, driven by too much change in too short a time. When the environment is volatile, our cognitive systems, they just struggle.
And in the context of AI and digital noise?
The misinformation agent accelerates this disorientation. They amplify fear about job loss, deepfakes, societal breakdown, but they do it without providing any actionable context or resolution.
So when a misinformation agent yells about a complex AI threat, the listener experiences fear, but they're left with no framework for understanding or reacting.
Exactly. You freeze up. You become confused, unable to adopt new technologies or participate constructively in the digital world. The bad influencers weaponize this cognitive paralysis.
And the explainer's promise is the antidote.
It's the direct antidote to this digital panic. Explanations, not distractions, means providing the stabilized context necessary to weather that shock, to turn confusion into confidence.
Which brings us to the ultimate goal, the identity we're driving towards, the good, the trusted guides, or what Hayes calls the Google influencers.
The criteria for lasting influence here are fundamentally straightforward and utilitarian. When these guides speak, people learn something they can immediately use. They are not performing a show. They are reliably solving specific complex problems.
And by consistently solving problems and providing context over time,
they build the most durable and valuable asset in the clarity economy: trust.
This is where the core lesson for the listener really lies, I think. Real influence, the kind that creates opportunity and a lasting legacy, is not about how loud you scream or how dramatic your video is.
No.
It is about how clearly you explain complex realities. This clarity, according to Hayes, is the only form of influence that lasts because it's utility-driven.
And if we connect this back to that Google influencer name, it highlights their fundamental strategy. They're discoverable through search because their audience isn't looking for entertainment.
They're looking for an answer.
They're looking for an answer to a burning specific question. That search-driven utility ensures their long-term relevance far beyond the lifespan of any algorithm change or viral trend. They're sought out because they reliably deliver certainty.
Okay, here's where the manifesto gets genuinely motivational. It challenges a pervasive societal assumption. Hayes addresses how society often tells seniors, those with the most life experience, that they're past their prime or too slow for the digital fear.
Yes.
But the explainer model fundamentally flips this script. It turns age, wisdom, and accumulated experience into an unparalleled, valuable advantage.
It's a powerful and necessary reframing of generational assets in the digital age. We tend to over-index on speed, on novelty, on the constant flux of technology, which is, naturally the domain of the young.
Right.
But Hayes compares the strengths directly, and he shows how the explainer role perfectly utilizes the often underappreciated asset of maturity.
So on one side, you have the young influencers. They have the energy, the digital velocity, the native comfort with the platforms, but they often lack the foundational context needed to truly vet and synthesize information.
And on the other side, you have the potential senior explainers whose great bankable asset is wisdom, or, in precise psychological terms, crystallized intelligence.
Okay, let's pause here because this is a crucial concept. For the listener, let's define crystallized intelligence simply. We're talking about the ability to analyze a complex AI issue and frame it with decades of real-world history, regulatory experience, or life context. Is that the distinction from the speed-based intelligence of the young?
That is exactly the distinction. While younger generations typically have higher fluid intelligence, that's the raw speed of processing new information, crystallized intelligence is the reservoir of knowledge needed to vet, synthesize, and provide context to the chaotic information flowing from the AI systems.
So, when a new technology emerges,
it's not enough to know how it works. You need to know why it matters based on human history and precedent. That's the explainer's job.
So the explainer model becomes a perfect strategic merger then. You use the incredible energy of AI like Gemini and NotebookLM to handle the speed and novelty of new data.
Right.
And then you apply your lifetime of crystallized intelligence to provide the essential, trusted context. The technology does the searching, the senior does the sense-making, and the framing.
And that combination makes the explainer model the ultimate path to success in 3 crucial areas of life, according to Hayes' structure. These are areas where the dividends of clarity pay off immediately.
Let's start with the highly personal, in love and life. How does becoming an explainer fundamentally revolutionize your personal life and relationships?
Well, when you become an explainer, you fundamentally change your value proposition within your own sphere. You become interesting. You gain a voice that isn't dependent on shouting or adopting trendy jargon. Instead of becoming confused by the digital world, you transform into the person at the dinner table who understands the world and can translate that understanding for others.
This shifts the narrative completely. Instead of being the one asking for help with a smart TV remote, you are the one explaining the existential implications of deepfakes or clarifying the new privacy settings on a social media platform.
Think about the practical relationship-building scenarios. If a grandchild is obsessed with a new metaverse game, the explainer doesn't just dismiss it. They use their AI tools to understand the underlying economics and technology, and then apply their wisdom about investment and community to have a profound, informed conversation. This strengthens relationships because it shows genuine engagement and knowledge. It helps reduce domestic friction over digital boundaries and confusion because one person is providing a trusted center of certainty.
It actively bolsters self-worth by reaffirming relevance.
Absolutely. That's influence at its most intimate level. You become the family's trusted guide through the digital jungle.
Okay, so next, let's consider the professional implications. In business, Hayes states unequivocally that trust is the new currency.
Yes. In a world drowning in easily generated data that is often conflicting or dubious, the ability to simplify complexity and reliably deliver certainty is the highest premium skill set available.
So how does the explainer monetize this trust?
By utilizing AI tools like Gemini and Notebook LM to explain difficult, technical, or rapidly evolving problems, whether it's market shifts, regulatory changes, or complex technological implementations, the explainer becomes indispensable to their professional network.
They're not just employees or consultants.
They're the trusted bridge between chaos and comprehension. For example, simplifying the implications of a new environmental regulation or explaining how decentralized finance will impact a legacy investment strategy. Their crystallized intelligence provides the essential forecasting and context, making their explanation uniquely valuable.
Being indispensable is the ultimate form of professional relevance, regardless of your age. If your network knows you can be counted on to deliver clarity on complex issues rapidly and reliably, they will seek you out, they will pay you, and they will trust you above all others.
That is the clarity economy generating measurable dividends.
And finally, let's look at the broader sphere. In community.
The community, whether it's local, religious, or professional, needs guidance more than ever, not just more noise. An explainer becomes the pillar of their local network. They move beyond social media consumption and into active, informed leadership through explanation.
So what kind of community problems is the explainer solving?
They are the stabilizing force that translates rapidly changing information into local, actionable wisdom. For example, they might use their explainer skills to distill a complex city council zoning document, or explain the pros and cons of new digital voting systems, or clarify the latest medical information.
So they're using their platform not for self-promotion.
No, for communal sense-making. Their trusted, vetted output becomes a local public service, building a legacy of genuine contribution.
This entire section reinforces that central, liberating theme. The explainer isn't just surviving the AI age by adopting new tools. They are leveraging their most valuable, non-replicable asset wisdom to lead it. Okay, this moves us into the intensely practical portion of the deep dive. The manifesto isn't just philosophical, it's operational. Hayes provides a clear three-step method for implementing this shift from noise to clarity.
And he emphasizes you don't need a film crew, a podcast studio, or a massive budget.
Right.
The toolkit premise is designed for efficiency and accessibility. You need the Google ecosystem. This loops back directly to the strategic tool selection we analyzed earlier, Gemini and Notebook LM. They're the essential integrated instruments for moving from raw research to structured, trustworthy output.
Let's walk through the steps, starting with the foundation, which is private and internal. Step 1, the private study, Gemini.
The core principle here must be internalized. You cannot explain what you don't understand. This is the crucial point where the explainer differentiates themselves from a superficial performative content generator.
They commit time to internal mastery.
To synthesis before they ever address the public.
And the task is to use Google Gemini as your high-powered private tutor. This is where the powerful generative capabilities are turned inward for the explainer's own benefit, ensuring clarity and deep comprehension before they ever go public.
And to illustrate the required depth, Hayes provides a fantastic specific example prompt. You don't just ask Gemini for facts on AI, you ask it to analyze the mechanics and the psychology of successful influence.
What's the prompt?
The prompt is, break down the communication style of the top financial influencers. Why do people trust them? Identify their cadence, vocabulary, and primary structuring methods.
Wow, that is incredibly shrewd. You're not just studying finance or AI, you're studying the psychology of clarity. You're learning how trust is built, how complexity is simplified, and how credibility is established by dissecting the communication patterns of those who already do it successfully.
Exactly. This private study informs the explainer's entire style, their cadence, their pacing, their content strategy. It ensures their eventual public output is built on proven, effective principles of trustworthy communication, not guesswork or accidental virality. You use AI to analyze human influence. The depth of the private study is what guarantees the value of the public explanation.
Okay, so once that internal foundation is solid, we move to step 2, the public explanation, Notebook LM. This is the crucial bridge from private understanding to polished public delivery.
The task here is to take all those generated notes, those vetted insights, and the deep analysis you gain from Gemini and feed them into Notebook LM. This specialized tool is then used to help script the explanation for maximum clarity, structure, and pacing.
So it's systematizing the wisdom.
That's a great way to put it.
So this is where the clarity economy is literally engineered. You take the dense, synthesized research from Gemini, and then you use Notebook LM to polish it into a coherent, flowing narrative. How does it specifically aid in structuring the delivery?
It acts as a kind of editorial assistant. It can identify the core arguments, structure them logically, say, into the good, bad, and ugly format we just discussed, for instance. It can draft transitional sentences and ensure that the tone is consistent and accessible to that senior and family community.
So it's ensuring the delivery is logical and paced appropriately.
Yes, and easily digestible. Fundamentally respecting the listener's sense of composure and time, which is the core promise of the clarity economy. The explainer's crystallized intelligence provides the input and the vetting. Notebook LM provides the structured output that resonates with a modern audience seeking quick certainty.
And finally, after the research and the structuring are complete, we move to step 3, the platform, YouTube and Google search. You have the deeply vetted research and the perfectly structured explanation. Where do you deliver it?
The strategic location is critical because, as we discussed, explainer influence is utility-driven. You post your explanations where people are actively searching for answers, primarily YouTube and Google search.
Which is why they are Google influencers.
Exactly. You aren't chasing people on fleeting social feeds like TikTok or Instagram, hoping they stop scrolling. You are strategically placing your clear, reliable answer precisely in the path of someone who already has a genuine need and intent to learn.
That maximizes the impact of the clarity you've created. You're not trying to distract someone who is passively scrolling. You are serving someone who is actively seeking a trusted guide out of their confusion.
And it ensures enduring relevance because search queries last forever while viral trends vanish overnight.
This entire concise 3-step roadmap, private study, public explanation, strategic platform, it really solidifies Mike Hayes' role as the meta explainer.
Yes. He isn't just explaining AI to seniors. He is the explainer of explainers.
He's teaching a full curriculum on how to translate competence into digital impact. He calls the output digital charisma, which is a perfect term for influence rooted in competence, clarity, and genuine usefulness.
Rather than just theatrical performance or emotional manipulation.
Exactly.
His overarching goal is to equip you, the listener, with the tools to analyze the psychology of influence so you can replicate the success built on trust and longevity without ever falling prey to the vanity metrics and the emotional traps of the standard influence game. It's a roadmap for professional and personal integrity in the digital sphere.
This deep dive has shown that there is a healthy, profitable, and dignified roadmap out of the digital noise. The core takeaway is crystal clear. The influencer explainer model provides a powerful path for individuals, especially those with decades of accumulated wisdom, to achieve true, lasting influence by becoming teachers, curators, and reliable guides, rather than just transient entertainers.
It truly defines legacy in the digital age. Hayes makes an explicit offer to join the Senior AI Foundation and utilize resources like aipodcastlistening.com/Durai, which is designed for digestible learning, to educate oneself on the go. The entire foundation is dedicated to that core principle, focusing on the best, most vetted information, ignoring the distractors, and building a genuine, meaningful legacy of trust and clarity.
The digital world is evolving so fast that the greatest commodity isn't attention that's abundant and cheap. The greatest commodity is the ability to reliably make sense of overwhelming change. The market for certainty is booming.
And that leads to Hayes' ultimate conclusion, the final truth that underpins his entire manifesto. The world is full of questions that cause anxiety, paralysis, and future shock. Be the person with the answers.
That is the only influence that genuinely matters.
Because it is competence that builds the most valuable currency, trust.
It's empowering, actionable knowledge. If trust is the new currency in business, and your accumulated wisdom, your crystallized intelligence is your greatest asset, then the opportunity to lead is just immense. We want to leave you in the final provocative thought based on this highly practical roadmap.
Think about the genuine complexity and confusion that exists in your professional network, your family, or your community right now. What single complex problem, a new technology, a regulatory shift, or a cultural confusion, could you simplify and explain today using these specific AI tools, applying your private study and public scripting methodology to make yourself absolutely indispensable and become that trusted guide?
Take that idea and use the explainer roadmap to build your answer and start your clarity economy legacy.
Boomers, I hope that conversation sparked a light bulb for you so you can become an AI bloomer. So as the AI hosts discuss, the world is full of questions and mysteries, and the only influence that matters is being the person with answers. You don't need to be a tech wizard. You only need to be a safe explainer. If you want to learn how you can use the tools mentioned in this episode, specifically Google Gemini and Notebook, to build your own legacy of clarity, come and join us. Visit us at the SeniorAIFoundation.org. That's SeniorAIFoundation.org. Join our community of explainers, and let's turn your wisdom into impact. I'm Mike Hayes. Thanks for listening on the go, and remember, don't just influence, explain.